we always say in Feng Shui, we activate these areas of life. And if you want to activate abundance or relationship in your space, and you don't declutter, clutter keeps energy stuck. It's not moving. The first step is always decluttering and creating the space for the energy to move.
It's decluttering.
So decluttering is letting go of things you don't need, you don't like, and you don't use.
Going back to the basics, what is Feng Shui?
So Feng Shui comes from China and it's over 5,000 years old and it means wind and water. And Feng Shui is an environmental teaching which is growing through looking at nature. So the Feng Shui masters, they were looking at nature. They were looking at when is the energy in the nature calm? At what places the energy is too explosive or too active. So based on these principles, it was about security and feeling secure. And the moment, even today, when you feel secure, you feel that you can do anything in this world. Feng Shui is creating a secure environment for our subconscious so that it can relax. From there, we can conquer the world.
Hi, Face Whisperers. Welcome to a new episode. I just had the most amazing recording with Danijela. Her business is called Unfolding Spaces. She uses the traditional practice of Feng Shui. One of the things she talks about decluttering, which is life force. Simple transformations can change your life, can create a new life, and also can support you. It really was emotional for me because of her abundance mindset and of her adapting to change and adapting her business based on feedback and based on what is needed and how the world evolves, and she's able to act from that place. We use the word freedom to describe that place of acting, guidance, and being successful at it. Because sometimes we do, but we don't do it from a place of authenticity, from a place of abundance, from a place of... When she talks about soul, that spaces have souls. It's like, yes, your surroundings have soul. Whereas it be a pencil, it can hold chi, it can hold energy, it can hold life force. It's more about the experiences we're having through that. And it's the same thing of how are you cluttering your mind? It's a reflection and it's in your subconscious without you even realizing it. So the information we are consuming can be clutter. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoy it. And that you receive some love, some knowledge that can help you that can help you declutter your life. Feel into the soul of it. Feel into the future of that place and you within that space. What do you want it to be? What can it be? Is it giving you information? Is it telling you what it wants it to
be? Hello, I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for your invitation.
Yes, thank you for joining me and agreeing to be here with me today.
Sure. It's a pleasure.
Before the call, we were confirming our names. So I would love for you to pronounce your name because I'm going to pronounce it in Spanish, which is Danijela, but you will pronounce it differently, right?
Of course. Although I love the Spanish pronunciation, it's Danijela. So it's in German, it's Danijela. In Serbian, it's Danijela. So however you choose to call me.
I wish I had the capability of pronouncing that. Like I can hear it, the difference, but when I try to do it, it's kind of hard.
No worries.
My niece's name is Danijela. That's why it's like easier, you know. And yeah, like my name in Spanish is Rainy and in English is Rainy. So it's very, very different pronunciations.
Yeah.
So where are you joining us from today?
Today I'm in Belgrade, and Belgrade is the capital of Serbia.
I've never been there. How was it growing up there for you?
So I don't know how much you know about my story. I was born and I was born in Germany, in Munich, and I lived there until 2022 when my family and me decided to go to move to Serbia, which is kind of my home country. So I love to say for myself, I'm from Yugoslavia. It's like the old country which does not exist anymore. But I'm a mix. Like my parents, my family is all over the old states of Yugoslavia. And I got to marry a Serbian man. So I always say, oh, I'm from Serbia, although that's the short story. The long story is always like, oh, my dad is from here, my mom is from here, my husband is from here, and I grew up in Germany. So it's just an amazing mixture. But we decided to go back to our home country just to, reconnect again, and also to give our kids the chance to reconnect to their home country too, so that they become people who are comfortable living where they want and knowing that they have two home countries. So it's just, you know, opening up the heart and the mind to new possibilities, which is feng shui also on a personal level.
Yeah, my niece also, she's very mixed, and she was actually discussing this week, asking her parents, like, we don't really do activities from like your country mom or your country dad. And so like she was asking for this, and it's so nice that you're giving that to your kids, that cultural mix. And I think it's so precious to live in different countries or be from different countries, because you have more compassion for other people in different languages and different accents, and like you come out of your comfort zone.
Yes, yes, and you also get to know different cultures and how it feels to adjust and yield and learn. So it's quite a journey.
My aunt is married to a Yugoslavian, so I grew up. Yes.
There you go. I mean, it's really funny. I used to say to my husband, we are such a small country, like nobody's going to know us. And then I remember 2014, we were in Hawaii. And then there was on the beach, I don't know, he was part of the hotel staff. He asked us, where are you from? And I'm like, well, we're from Germany, And my husband is, no, we're from Serbia. And he's like, oh, I know Serbia. My girlfriend is from Serbia. And da-da-da-da. So it was really funny to how we also underestimate things.
Yeah, and like when I was young, his family used to visit. When I was visiting them in the summer, I would spend a lot of my summer with them and listening to the language and listening to their stories, and my aunt giving me stories of how beautiful the country is. We were in the mountains one time with them on vacation. He was remembering his country, and like it's so. And I have one more story about Yugoslavia because it's also very weird. I was in Dominican Republic in a town called Las Terrenas a few years back. It's being more developed now, but it's a very remote place in the island, mainly because it was hard to get there. I was in a hill one time and I saw some ruins, and I'm like, I want to go to those ruins. And so I was trying to find these ruins. I was riding a motor. I stopped and I asked this gentleman, I'm looking for these ruins. Do you know where it is? And we start talking, and he's from Yugoslavia as well and has been there for 30 years, living in this remote.
Wow.
And he started the conversation saying, you probably don't know where this is, but this is where I'm from. And he's an older, very older man. And I was like, oh my God, my uncle, he's from Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
So you never know, right? Who you
never know, really. Yes.
So you mentioned Feng Shui, how you were attracted to Feng Shui, and how do you practice it?
Yeah, so feng shui, I was 26 years old when I started to learn feng shui from my master back then. So I was very young. It was 2004, and I freshly graduated from university. I studied at the University of Applied Sciences, economics and marketing, and my big dream was to work in marketing, corporate world marketing. So this was really my world. Could not say my childhood dream was to design homes or anything like this. But this didn't turn out how I wanted it, because I was so I was so career driven that I married very young. I was 21 when my husband and me got married. And I was like, okay, let's just get a child while I'm studying, while I'm at university, because then when I start working, I will have at least one child. So we'll see how it works out. So, but then when I was looking for a job, people would tell me, of course, not officially, but you're young, you're married, you have a child. Well, although you are highly qualified, you're like, no, thank you. So I was really desperate. And I was so desperate that I was like, before I sit at home, I'm going to work at a fast food restaurant. My husband told me you're crazy. And I said, I don't care. Because, all my life I was doing things towards a goal. And all of a sudden it didn't work. So I couldn't imagine myself sitting at home. And I was there for 6 weeks. That's all I could do. And there was a day where I was taking my break and I was looking through a magazine, and there was an article talking about decluttering. And it said, this is how you declutter. And when you declutter your home, your life will change. And I'm like, no way. Oh, somebody wants to sell me that if I change something in my space, my life will change. I was like, no way. So I didn't pursue it further. And after things didn't change, I told my husband, let's declutter. And he's like, what? So, because we both agreed that our apartment was not cluttered, it was neat, nice. Okay. So, we did start to declutter, and it was amazing what we found in the cupboards, in the closets, in what is it, in the basement, like all over the place. And we moved a lot of things out of our apartment, and within 2 days, two amazing things happened. So the first one was that we were looking for a bigger apartment, and we were looking for an apartment for half a year. And 2 days after this decluttering session, we got approved for an apartment, a governmental apartment, which was also subsidized, so it wasn't so expensive. And we also got a payment, a governmental payment, which we were also waiting for to happen for a half a year. And those things. I mean, people sometimes say, well, it was coincidence. Well, maybe it wasn't. But for me, it was very clear the one has to do something with the other. And this is, I'm like, okay, let's dig into it. So I started to read about decluttering. Then of course it led me to Feng Shui. And then, I mean, this happened in spring, and late summer I made a decision with 26 not to pursue a career in marketing, but to start training as a Feng Shui consultant, which was totally crazy and not logical at all. But today in retrospect, I would say this is how magic happens. Magic doesn't happen in a logical way, and Feng Shui does not cross your path because you want to build a new business or make money. It crosses your path because it's meant for you, it chose you. This is how I always say Feng Shui chooses you and not the other way around.
One thing that comes up when you were mentioning that for you, the link between decluttering and receiving those good two news is what I see as well. Another perspective is that you were already somehow you received that information that this was happening, that, by intuition, however, we're going to move or things are going to change. I want things to change, even if I don't know what's going to happen. And so you took action based on that and a strong belief that you had. And so when that news came, you were ready. You were ready to receive it. You were happy to receive it, right? Since I was very young, I'm interested in spaces and how spaces work. And as a young person, I used to create spaces in nature. Like I would see something and I'm like, oh, that's going to be my house. So I was always creating a home for myself anywhere I went. And so when I would take magazines and I would read or see a beautiful space, Feng Shui was always article that were usually somewhere in a magazine. But when I researched it, it was too difficult for me personally. I have read a few books, but I've never really pursued the traditional, the truth about it. I understand the concept in general because for me, my designs come from like intuition or the information I receive from the person and the future version I see of them.
Yes.
But to have techniques out of it, that's different.
Yeah, I mean, Feng Shui is complicated, and yet at the same time, it's very simple. This is when I teach Feng Shui to my students, I always tell them you first start learning Feng Shui with your mind. And then there is a moment where it gets too complicated for the mind because it's logical and then it's not logical. It has rule and then it doesn't have rules. So, and we are like linear learning. How? Do I have rules or I don't have rules? Is it logical or isn't? This is when I study this old the old schools of life of Feng Shui is a school of how to create environment which is supportive to you. But also if you look into the old medicine ways, it always has the same. It's logical and it isn't. And there are many ways how to make things work. There's just not one right way. There are different ways. And this is what confuses the people. They want to press Feng Shui into a logical space, and it isn't. And the best way how to approach it, even if you just right now start to learn it, it's like everything what you hear about Feng Shui is more or less it's true. But it is, my students love when I say this, it depends. It depends on the space. It depends on the situation. It depends on the people who live in it. It depends on the situation the family or the business is in. There's so many variables in this thing, and this is what makes it complicated because it's not this logical level. So where people usually either start or get stuck in is at the surface, where we talk about, for example, the bagua. Okay, you have this corner, and if you put into this corner this symbol, this part of your life is going to prosper. This is not wrong. But if the chi, the life force energy, doesn't permeate the whole space, it won't reach that corner. So what you did there won't really work because the life force energy is not reaching it. And this is, I want to make a really simple example here. If somebody tries to activate, we always say in Feng Shui, we activate this areas of life. And if you want to activate abundance or relationship in your space, and you don't declutter, clutter keeps energy stuck. So the energy is stuck, it's not moving, and you want to bring stuck energy to an area of life. And this is not working. So the first step is always decluttering and creating the space for the energy to move. And when it starts moving, you start directing the chi to the area of life you want it to flow to. So this is it's just a little piece, but usually it creates such an aha moment to many people because it's like, now I understand why this or that didn't work as well as I wanted.
Yeah, and it's very simple. So you're bringing it back to the basics, and
Yes.
it's the thing that people can understand. But I want to ask you even a very simple question. What is decluttering?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So, decluttering is letting go of things you don't need, you don't like, and you don't use. So this for me the basic thing. How many things do we own and keep we don't really need, or we don't? It's like some things we don't use them, or we keep things we don't like or love. I always have this example like, this is a cup. I like it's nice. I like it. I don't love it, but I use it. So I'm going to keep it. But do I need, we have 4 children, 2 adults, so we are a family of 6. But do I need 50 cups? I don't. I might need, okay, let's say 12, but not 50. And this is where the difference comes in.
That is such a beautiful way to explain it. It's very logical and people can understand it. But at the same time, it's like common sense. Like, we are a family of 6. We do not need 50 cups. Even if you have the space to have 50 cups, you do not need it. So what happens if, for example, if someone says, oh, I have them there if I have visitors or for a party? What do you say to that?
Usually I ask, okay, how often do you throw parties? Twice a year. Okay. Then you just, order dishes from a catering company. They will bring you the cups and whatever you need, and they will take it away. Okay. So, or the same as with guest rooms. I often see families, or it doesn't matter. I see it often in families. They're like, oh, we need a guest room. And then there's a home office somewhere stuck in between maybe somewhere under the staircase or the bedroom, but there is a guest room, a whole room for guests. And I'm like, okay, good. So how often do you receive, like, how often do guests visit you? And they're like, once a year. And for once a year, you're keeping one room completely empty for the guests to come, and your office where you're building your business is under the staircase. It doesn't make sense. So you just book a hotel for your guests once a year. This is also we get stuck with clutter because our head creates the clutter with the what ifs and you could and what if you needed. This what ifs. This is, clutter, as I said, is being created in our heads because if I have 15 cups and I go ahead and buy 10 more because in case I need it, it didn't start with the cups, it started with a thought. And this is how you can prevent
Preventing clutter. So, for example, if you're trying to prevent, how do you make decisions on what to buy or when to buy them, or what that decision making? Because I think
Yeah,
it's hard, and mainly for women.
it is. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I went through this process too. I love beautiful things and I used to love, I have never been like the shopping queen, but I love to, like, if I see something beautiful, decoration or so, I would buy it. But then I made the experience that I have done all the stuff and I need to take care of it. I need to, dust it off and make it look nice. And then, the seasons change and you need to change the decoration. Then you need to store the decoration. There's so much work connected to it. So this is just one piece or one experience I had where I'm like, oh, this looks beautiful. But then, I have this, okay, you need to organize the stuff and you need to store it. And I was like, okay, no decoration. This, like, I don't need as much decoration as I thought. And, basically, it's about becoming conscious. This is really, or also slowing down. Like, slowing down. Do I really, really need this? Give yourself 24 hours and then think about, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And just the other day, I was not in Belgrade, I was in Munich from a business, and the kids were with their grandmother alone at home. And usually when I come after like 10 days not being at home, there is a lot of stuff everywhere because they don't put it away again. And I came back and there was no stuff. And I realized why, because the last half year I was continuously decluttering things. So I was going really into detail and there were no things which they could just leave somewhere. And this is a huge aha moment I had.
How do you educate this to your kids, for example? Mainly them growing up with like toys and all of these things that they want, games. How do you
You
work with
know,
them?
you can just lead by example. And out of 4 children, only one is mindful with things. The other three are all over the place. So I'm just like, this is my business, why my kid? But I think the best way we can do is lead by example. And then even when they were small, they're now, the youngest one is 9 and the other ones, they're really big boys. When they were small, I was used to declutter their room and really clean it and make it tidy and organize it. And when they would come back from school, they're like, this is so beautiful. Thank you, Mom. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's like, oh, how does it feel? And they're like, oh, this is so good. So, and I would say, keep it that way as long as you can. Okay. So this is how and I still enjoy doing it, and it's not a struggle for me, and I'm fine, helping them. I don't tidy up their rooms for them, but I help them organize and let go of clutter so that it's easier for them. Because, when children go through a certain age, their mind is cluttered. They are all over the place. And uh, since our space is just mirroring our internal state, it's impossible for children in usually in puberty, between 13 and I don't know, 21 or so, to keep a very tidy room because they are going through such a change in their lives. So, and again, I'm not saying you just tidy up after your kid. Your kid can do whatever it wants. No, not at all. But just to be supportive and then understanding through this phase and help them organize themselves.
Yeah, I've been spending time with my niece, and she's 15. And you saying that, I can see the reflection of her mind in her bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to help her, and it has helped her like be creative with her room. But then 2 day passes, and it goes back to this chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have 4 boys, right?
Yeah.
4 boys. I think it's different as well. Like for girls and boys, the hormones are
Absolutely.
different, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
need different things.
Yeah.
So you mentioned chi and then energy. So chi meant is energy, right? Or is it
Chi
different?
is life
Yeah,
force. Well, we
life
say
force.
energy for many different kind of things. Everything is energy. It just has a different density and meaning and frequency and so on. In Feng Shui, we say qi because qi carries the life force energy. So this is just a little distinction. And at the end,
I
again,
can
everything
tell.
is qi.
Yeah, that's true. Life force. Is it the quantity of that life force that is different?
I think that, when we go back, so the qi is not only a meaning in feng shui, it's in the whole Taoist world, be it like it's Tai Chi, Qigong, Kung Fu, traditional Chinese medicine. They're all talking about this qi, this life force energy. And it does carry energy. And there is, I mean, basically you could maybe say it's just energy is energy, but the qi is like the carrier of information. It depends what kind of energy of information does the chi carry? How does it move through your body or through your space? Is it stuck or is it moving too fast? The goal is to balance the flow so that it's harmonious, and then also, if possible, to create an energy, to create a chi which carries positive information. Like, just to give you an example, if in front of your home you have yucca tree or many yucca trees, and they have this pointing, this arrow-like leaves. So the chi is harmonious, flowing through your home, and then it passes this yucca trees, and the yucca trees are like ping, 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 ping. So the energy of the chi changes because it's all of a sudden it's like it's being attacked and it gets distressed. So the chi might be flowing slowly, but it's distressed, right? So this two different kinds of how is the chi flowing and what kind of energy is it carrying.
And so when you say that it's depending on the energy type, so it can be positive or negative or light shadow. Is there a distinction between the two, or are they the final goal is for them to be in harmony? So there's no good or bad.
There is no good or bad, indeed. It's about yin and yang, and there is no light without shadow or shadow without light. So in feng shui, it's not about everything being the light. It's about the balance, and we need both. We need the yin and the yang. And if you look at the symbol, the yin has a piece of yang in it and the other way around. So, and this is why at feng shui, I always say also to my students, there is in feng shui almost nothing where we say it's always like that. Like this is a rule and it's always like that, because it isn't. And then this is how I approach it and I teach it. I don't like to use positive, negative. I say left and right turning. Right turning energy is, life enhancing, and left turning energy is draining the energy, draining life. And this is how. So I don't like, because positive, negative is like, who says it's negative? Or who says it's positive? It's very like it's how you see it, how you perceive it. But left and right turning is, for me, it's very clear and not connected to any emotion. So you can stay objective.
And when you say emotions, that's why sometimes it's hard to let go or declutter of an
Yeah,
item because
absolutely.
of the emotions attached to it. Or the idea, like you were saying, what if, what if?
Absolutely.
So going back to the basics, what is Feng Shui? What does it mean, the words, and where do they come from?
So Feng Shui comes from China, and it's over 5,000 years old, and it means wind and water. For me, when I studied the old schools and looked into the past, Feng Shui is an environmental teaching which is growing through looking at nature. So the Feng Shui masters, when they started to write down what we today know as Feng Shui principles or the different Feng Shui schools, they were looking at nature. They were looking at when is the energy in the nature calm, at what places the energy is too explosive or too active. And then if you look how our ancestors built their homes, you will always see that their back is somehow either in a cave or towards a hill. The back is never towards what is it called? The English word is missing right now. When a hill is falling
Open
down.
land?
Yes, like it's the open land is always in front of the house so that the view is wide. Why? Because today we say the further you see, the more you see, the more opportunities you will be able to see. Back then, it meant the further you see, the faster you will see if a threat is approaching you. So you can secure yourself and your family. So, based on these principles, this is how the first Feng Shui schools were built. It was about security and feeling secure. And the moment, I mean, even today, when you feel secure, you feel that you can do anything in this world. But if something is threatening your security, you go into fear. So you go into freeze, flight, or I don't know, the third mode, whatever. So you're just like stuck. And the first school and the most important school, how I see it in Feng Shui, is creating a secure environment for our subconscious so that it can relax, that we can be focused when we work, that we can sleep well, that we are able to see opportunity coming, and that we are able to gather abundance in our space. And when this is set, from there we can conquer the world.
So you mentioned the word safety, and I know people that because of their history or how they were raised, for them, clutter is safety in a way. And so, how do you even tackle that situation? You know, where clutter means safety for them because that means they have a lot and they don't have,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, it's a so there is also a point in the consultation where I tell people to ask for professional help because there is a line where I don't want to cross. But my way is always to give people a new perspective. So I love to tell this story. I worked with an elder man. His name was Stefan. And when he approached me years and years ago, I mean, it's at least 15 years ago. Back then he was 74 and he was listening to one of my talks. And then he approached me and he said, I would like to declutter my home. And I looked at him as like, "Mm, well, you're 70. You look very old. I didn't know his age. And I said, well, if you really want to, just give me a call. So he gave me a call. And then again, I told him, well, you know what? I don't like, why would you declutter your home? I don't understand. Think about it and call me again. So he called me again. And then I visited him, and he was an engineer and he was collecting paper. Paper was giving him security to have all. So today, what we see, oh, I just Google things. He didn't have a computer, so his papers were his security that he has all the information he needs. So he was a researcher. So he was researching even when he was retired. He had three children. His wife died 20 years ago, and he was alone in this home. And when we started to work together, it was not me decluttering for him, but it was me teaching him to decide what he needs. So it would go like this. I would give him a paper and ask him to look at it. And he was looking at it and it's like, okay, keep it or not. And he almost always said we keep it. So after 3 hours of decluttering, we had the same pile of stuff just on the other side. Okay. So, and we were working on this muscle. And then he more often started to say, okay, this can go and this can go. And I told him, well, if you need, this article from a magazine about the heart disease, if you have a condition, you go to a doctor. This article is not going to help you. And he's like, that's true. Okay, I don't need these articles anymore. Good. Okay, so we could get rid of those. So we worked together for 8 years until his death, indeed. So when he turned 80, 6 years later, he was riding horseback riding. He started horseback riding. He started dancing, and he painted his house completely new. So he was really alive again. So I always say it's never too late. It's never too late. And then 2 years later, he got ill and then he died. And at his funeral, his children approached. I have never met his children. He approached me and they said, "You are the reason why he was so alive the last few years. So thank you for that." So I always say Stefan was a God-given gift to me, and I'm so grateful that I had him in my life. He taught me so much. And I love sharing this story because it shows everybody can work on this muscle with patience, with kindness, and with grace. And the right support, of course.
That's beautiful. For you to have that patience as well, that takes a lot. I'm guessing you don't do that anymore unless it's a special case that you have your structure when working with clients. Actually, I was going to ask you, do you still work with clients?
Yes, I do. Not so much
Yes.
anymore because I have my school and my students, but I do a few projects every year.
How do you pick them? And how do they find you?
Yeah, they always find me. So, of course, I have a website, I have my Instagram account, but my clients always find me. And I talk to the people, and then we always see if we, not just this, are we a fit? It's more like, are we having fun together? Because when we work together, we go deep and it's a longer period of time. And I also want to have fun, and I want my clients to have fun, even if we are working on, well, different topics. So, and then it usually, it just opens up. And I never say no to a client. I always say, well, we need to wait until, a new spot's open. And usually they are willing to wait. So I think that's something what I've created around my business, that I always say the right people come at the right time. So it's perfect.
So, what was your journey to get to this level? It's so abundant. Like, it feels very abundant and also protective of you. And at the same
Hmm.
time, you're helping many people.
Yeah.
How did you get to this level?
This is so interesting that you asked this. I just got a message a few days ago from a woman, I don't even know her. And I wrote 4 books in German. And the last book was written 2011. And the book she was referring to was written 2014. Somehow she told me, I lost touch with you. I don't know. I didn't get your emails anymore. I Googled you the other day and I found you after, well, 10 years. And she said, I am so amazed the progress you did, but you didn't lose your depth. You didn't lose who you really are when you were, she put it in parentheses, when you were small. So my journey was always led through my community. So I didn't say, okay, I'm going to study Feng Shui because I want to build a business. I studied Feng Shui because I was so fascinated by it. I wanted to learn more. And then, of course, I wanted to have clients because I had all this knowledge and I want to channel it. So I want to bring it to somebody. I didn't want it just for myself. So this is where I had my first coach who supported me back then, like 2004, 2006, to build a website, right? So this is how people started to see me. Then, as you see, I love to talk. So I gave talks. I used every chance to talk about what I love and about this passion. And people heard me, and I could ignite this passion for them. At least not the, it doesn't have to be the passion for Feng Shui, but the passion for their space. That they see their space is not just, four walls. It has a soul, and there is your space. There's so much your space can give back to you. Start using it. Stop ignoring it anymore. So, and of course, there was a lot of hard work behind it. Just to say, I was just relaxing and everything came my way. No, I invested a lot of money into my coaches, personal mentoring. My biggest turnaround was when I decided to learn from people who are at the place where I wanted to be. And this is how I found my coaches, how I found my mentors. And I always stayed true to my values. And my values are freedom, family, and family. So those are my two top values. So I value freedom a lot. At the same time, I have a big family. And bringing this together was possible because I built a business which is in tune with the lifestyle I wanted to lead. So in retrospect, I am so grateful for every single person who didn't give me a job when I was 24 or 25 and looking for it desperately. So I'm very grateful for this. But as I said, it is a lot of hard work, but at the same time is I was always open. For example, my Feng Shui school. I didn't found it because I said I need to teach Feng Shui. It was because people started to approach me and saying, "When are you going to teach Feng Shui?" And I'm like, "I'm not teaching. Do you want to sign up for something I'm not even doing?" So when 10 people, wrote me an email, I went to my mentor and I was like, these people are writing me, they want to learn from me. I have no idea like where this comes from. And she's like, well, it's time for you to step up. So this was 2013 when I founded my school and started to teach Feng Shui first in Germany and then in also in the United States, in the English language.
You're saying all of this, and it's inspiring me a lot. And it feels so nice. It feels so peaceful. And the word that keeps coming back is this abundance and this peace of like you're knowing that everything's gonna be okay. And I know it's not always perfect, but this is the energy I'm feeling from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I teared up the story about your client and in his 70s riding a horse just by doing such a simple act of, I don't need this. And that questioning, this is paper, this is magazine, but such a simple thing to get rid of or that doesn't even have like value to a lot of people, but it gave him so much of a transformation in the end of his life, which was in a way a beginning of a new life for him.
Absolutely. Yes.
You mentioned having fun with your clients, and that's how you pick your client. And that is such a rebel thing to say. I love that because I was thinking, why didn't I follow this path of Feng Shui? And what came to mind was like, because I'm a rebel and I don't want to follow the rules and I want to break the rules. But sometimes you need to learn the rules to be able to break them. And so
Yes.
it seems
Yes.
like you do that. Yeah. Seems like you live by that. And you mentioned the word freedom. And for a lot of people, it means different things, right? Like for a lot of people, it means being able to travel the world twice a year. What is freedom for you today, specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Because your kids are, a little bit older, so it changes, right?
Sure, it changes. Absolutely. It's so interesting you mentioned this. Back in like 2019 until 2020, freedom was for me to get on a plane and to go somewhere or in a car. I don't care. So I just need to leave Germany for some time. But then COVID came and I was locked up at home. And then, I was supposed, March 16th, 2020, I was supposed to travel to Houston to work for a client for my it was an investor or he's an investor. And I had to fulfill, or it was the biggest contract ever in my career until then. And everything was booked. And my mother-in-law, she came to Germany to help my husband deal with the kids while I was gone for 6 weeks. So I ended up not only with my family, but also with my mother-in-law, locked up in our home in Germany, right? So my value for freedom was really, really, compromised at this moment, right? So I remember back then I was lying on the trampoline in the backyard. It was like, my life is over. Who's ever going to want feng shui, in this situation, and so on and so on. So, but then, this phone started, this is where the universe stepped up for me. The phone started to ring, and I got emails like, I have time to take care of my home. Can I have a consultation? I was like, well, but we can do it only online. Yes, please. Then my students, they were like, Daniela, you need to teach feng shui online because we are not going to, I mean, this can take forever. And I was like, really? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get online. Think about how can you teach us online? So I started to teach online. I started to do feng shui consultations online. My mother-in-law was there to help my husband handle the kids and like everything because I was working constantly through the whole time. I had so much work to do. So everything turned out perfectly, and it created a new view to the freedom. I understood that freedom starts in myself and not in getting on a plane or traveling a plane, because then it's going away from something to experience freedom for a week or two. And this is where I really, until now, it might change again, understood that freedom is not, it starts in yourself. And for me, it's this, I want to feel free. I want to feel free because I decide with whom I work, how I work. I decide what part of my work is the right fit for the client. So you don't get just a consultation, you just get your consultation because I'm free to assess the situation and exactly to tell you what you need to resolve whatever the situation is. So I had also the situation where people asked me, well, would you come to our company and work for us, be it architects or, designers? I'm like, there is no amount of money you could pay me for me to sign a contract to work for somebody. So this is how it shifted.
Anything else you want to talk about, like your business or how people can find you? And also, what are you excited today about your business as well?
Okay, so yes, so I'm so excited that I am opening up my business to the English speaking world. It has been such a wish for me, and I feel so connected, especially to the United States. I always say it's my not wish is not to go and live there, but every time when I'm there, every time when I'm with my clients, I feel like coming home. It's so interesting, and I'm just looking at it, and I really love it. So I'm so excited. I developed a space activation certification for my English speaking community where I connect space healing, space clearing with Feng Shui. It's a very new approach. And this is what I'm very excited about. Then, well, where can you find me? Unfoldingspace.com is my website. I guess you will you will link it in the show notes. And what I really want to share with everybody who's listening is your space as a soul. And sometimes it's the missing link to the, I don't know, wealth, the situation, or the path you're looking for. Sometimes the space is really the missing link we are not looking at. Open up the world to you. So turn to your space and look at it. And if you only start with decluttering, that's perfect. That's perfect. And then if you already decluttered, then look into Feng Shui. Feng Shui has been around for over 5,000 years. If it wouldn't work, it would have died by now. So there must be some truth to it.
Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing all this beautiful knowledge with us. I hope this is the start of something new with us. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all the space you created. I have to say, I talked about some things which I have never talked about. So you have created an amazing space for this to happen. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
I will Space Whispers. Thank you for spending time with me today. Your host, Rainy, on the Space Whispering podcast. I hope today's episode gave you something to reflect on, inspire you, or energize you to create something beautiful. Help us grow this soulful community and spread the love by subscribing to the podcast, leaving a review, or sharing this episode with your community. If you're feeling called to transform your inner or outer spaces into a true reflection of you, let's connect. Schedule a discovery session with me at rainy.co or Instagram rainy_. What soulful actions will you take today? Keep listening to the whispers of creation and let your soul's magic flow into the world. See you soon. Besitos.